So another pretty basic question, but what does it actually mean when a company files for Chapter 11?
So first of all, again, Chapter 11 is part of the bankruptcy code. And there's other chapters. Seven, I said earlier, 7, 9, 11, 13, 12 for farmers, family farmers, 15 for foreign companies who anyway, there are these chapters, and each one is for a different type of party. The bottom line is that bankruptcy is governed by the bankruptcy code, but is interpreted by courts, right? The bankruptcy code it's not the tax code. It's not 10,000 pages. So there's a lot of interpretation that's been done over the years by bankruptcy courts. Anyway, so what does it mean to file an 11? Well, the minute you file an 11, you become a debtor in possession in bankruptcy, and you're bestowed with a whole bunch of powers and rights and obligations that you didn't have before. And as the bottom says on this slide 6, you get a respite in the form of the automatic stay, which means that you any litigation that was pending against your company, any execution of a judgment that was about to take place, any act to recover on pre-petition, that is pre-bankruptcy debts, is stayed automatically upon the filing of the case. And it provides a good respite in some situations. What's that expression? A death by 1,000 cuts. Where, let's say you're defending against hundreds of lawsuits and just the cost of defense is killing you. Bankruptcy will stop that, period, right away. Now, it's not forever. Creditors can get relief from the stay. There's a process for that. Bankruptcy also, and I'm focused on the bottom bullet point. Bankruptcy Chapter 11 also provides the ability to rehabilitate, because it gives a debtor powers powers that simply don't exist outside of bankruptcy. Very briefly, because I think the goal is to talk about on some slides about them specifically, but the power to bind your creditors and other equity holders, for that matter, to a deal. I didn't say this earlier, and let me use this earlier slide. What drives strategy? So one thing I neglected to mention is, let's say you have 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000 creditors. It doesn't matter what number, and let's go with 100. And 85 of them are on board. 85 of them, and the 85 of them, let's say that not every creditor is owed the same amount of money. Let's say 85 of them are on board, and 85 of them are owed 90% of what your company owes. Out of court, you have them around a table. It's a big table, I guess, and they all say we're on board. Well, what about the ones who are not on board? It's a holdout problem. They simply won't agree. So assuming the other creditors can get over the unfairness of holdouts getting more because they're not willing to negotiate, and also assuming that the amount of when I talk about a deal, I'm talking about, I didn't say it aloud, I probably should. Let's say the deal is that this majority of creditors is willing to say, all right, look, pay us back 75 cents on the dollar, and we'll give you 5 years to pay it back. So the vast majority of creditors are willing to do that, but a minority are not. They're holding out. assuming the other creditors who are agreeable can get the bad taste out of their mouth by possibly just, letting these few holdouts get 100 cents because they're not agreeing voluntarily to restructure. And assuming further that the company, the debtor, looks at the math and says, okay, I can work with that. I was hoping to get my debt down to this, but getting it down to this is okay. Then that's fine. You can do it out of court. But if you don't, if you can't make those two things true, then you can file bankruptcy, and assuming you can satisfy certain tests, you can basically you can steamroll over those dissenting creditors, because there's if you have the requisite majorities and other tests are satisfied. So what does it mean when a company files Chapter 11? One, it means the company was hurting. Two, it does not mean the company is insolvent. You don't have to be insolvent to file Chapter 11. Three, it means that the company decided, after a lot of consideration, that Chapter 11, because it's a serious thing. It's effectively bet the company litigation, that this was the best path, and it means it's going to get some powerful tools to try to help itself get to whatever goal it's trying to get to, whether that's a sale, totally legitimate goal, or whether it's a true classic reorganization. That's what it means when broadest brush, what it means when a company files Chapter 11.